branding is essential for attorneys and law firms, and increasingly so because the industry, like any industry, is facing disruption, right? And so in many respects, legal services are seen as a commodity, right? And so when your product, your service is viewed as a commodity, you got to find ways to differentiate, to stand out. Attorneys are an extension of the corporate brand, right? But as a branding exercise, one of the considerations is how do you align the corporate brand, the corporate message, right? Which I'm sure many of you invest a lot of time in developing those messaging decks, aligns with specific attorneys who perhaps want to take the initiative and brand themselves. And the democratization of media that anyone can be with a Twitter account and with a blog, WordPress or Blogger, you basically become a publishing company, right? So within the infrastructure of marketing for law firms, any attorney with your guidance can become a publishing company and thereby raising the brand visibility, but also the brand value if done effectively. Thinking differently, getting out of your safe zone, and coming up with something, coming up with a program where you can identify attorneys within your firm that would be ripe for tapping to do thought leadership. One of the keys is you don't want somebody going off the reservation, right? You've got key message points that I'm sure many of you manage in your roles when you're dealing with external communications, whether it's an inquiry from the media or strategic partners or having something to do with a case. So you want to have alignment with the messages that individual attorneys are going to be utilizing about themselves, but also they're going to be reflecting back on the corporate brand.
I always start with the easiest thing, like who we are. You can get people to agree on that to a certain extent. What is our experience? But the two big questions are, in my mind, the soundbite, which I define as describe the firm in 50 words or less. Ask an attorney to define something in 50 words or less. Huge challenge. And then the second one is positioning. Positioning is all about differentiation. And that's the toughest thing, because it oftentimes means that in order to differentiate clearly, you have to let something go. You have to sort of say what we're not. One of the things that I think is critical is that you spend some time making sure that nobody gets away with articulating some aspirational vision for which you have no proof. In some situations, you start out a brand new firm. No one knows who you are. No one knows what you're about. You're creating a brand. And that's where all of the thinking that Tony was talking about comes into play. Sometimes the hardest thing, and some of you may be up against this, is when you are working with attorneys and you are realizing that whatever you can discern of what your brand might be in the marketplace, you're not happy with it. And you want to change, which means you've got to take a new message, and sometimes a new message to people who already think they know you.
If you have an effective PR program, you might be thinking about what are the topics that the industry is reporting on, okay? Litigation issues, et cetera, and finding a way to integrate that into the opinions of your experts internally. And that's what builds an editorial agenda. And you build that month to month, maybe 3 months out. So it's all organized ahead of time. So it's thinking about what those topics that are going to resonate in the marketplace and putting your own opinions around it. The next step is to conduct media training. Before any one of your attorneys speaks publicly, it goes without saying that you want to consider training them for the media. Media or public speaking, it really doesn't matter. Because where you really get awareness, brand awareness, is from the conversation that ensues from provocative thoughts, compelling opinions, And sometimes these things are controversial. So if any of you follow your own blogs that you like, you'll often find those who are getting the most traction, whether it's Twitter followers or likes on Facebook, are the ones who are being provocative.